Hi there and welcome back to Tesla Electron. Let's have a chat about Tesla. Coming right up. Tesla has been on a bit of a tear, hasn't it? It's been up and down, and it's been through the roof in the last week or so. It's now sort of settled down. Where does it go from here? It's just such a remarkable company. I think we're at the beginning of something that I don't think we've seen. We've possibly seen this 3 times in history, at least in the last 100 or so years. First of all, we saw it with Henry Ford and the Model T, and we saw that he had exponential growth with the Model T. Just a remarkable thing. And what was his claim to fame? He invented the assembly line. So that assembly line revolutionized the way to build vehicles, and that enabled him to scale to such a degree that he was able to bring down the cost of ownership of a vehicle down to something that the average person could afford. Well, there were still people selling horses then, and they were saying, well, why not buy a horse? But we all know where that led. From 2010, we had 1 billion cars on the road. In 2019, we had 1.35 billion cars on the road. So that was the first innovation. The second innovation that we saw was in around the 1950s, which was the telecommunications, and that went all the way through, it's still continuing, of course, the telecommunications industry, and that went crazy as well. And now we're seeing a new industry unfold, which is the electrification of transportation. And Tesla are at the forefront of that electrification of our transportation. And they've got their fingers in so many pies now that it's quite remarkable. People are not understanding how to value the company. It doesn't make sense to those on Wall Street. Doesn't compute. They don't even understand the exponential growth that Tesla has been seeing year on year on. So each year they have increased their production by 50%. Actually, according to Galley from Hyperchange, he says it's about 54% per year. And that's pretty remarkable for any company to be able to have a compound growth of 54% year on year on. Let's scoot over and just have a quick look at their stock price as of today. That's my channel, of course. Go over there and subscribe and like. If you would want more videos, just scoot over here to Yahoo Finance. And as you can see, we've got $771 and 28 cents. That's where it closed today on the Nasdaq. Very, very good. So we're yesterday we finished on around 750 mark, and here we are. We've gone up another up $23. So that sort of shows you where we're at. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so you take these are just my opinions solely and purely, but I can see that we're in another revolution here, and Tesla are at the forefront of it. And what people don't understand is that they are a tech company. They are not a motor company. And so they are going to be doing tech and energy. So you see with their solar roof and all of those kinds of things and their batteries. I live in Australia. They put a fantastic battery out in South Australia. They got back 50% of the cost of the installation in the first 12 months. That's remarkable in itself. So Tesla, I think personally, it's only going to go up from here. And yes, they'll have bad days. I'll have bits where the market doesn't like them and they go down and all those sorts of things. But I'm a long-term bull on Tesla. I have stock in Tesla. I am overly biased on Tesla. So do your research, cross your T's and dot your I's before you do any stock investing, particularly at the moment, being that it is quite high and there is probably potentially some more correction yet or not. So you can't never tell. That's the thing. Once they bring out their quarter Q1 results, their Q1 results will be low. Every Q1 result for Tesla has been low for the last several years, mainly because their largest market is in the USA. And of course, cars are very difficult to sell in the USA during the winter months, as it is here, actually. But we're in summer here in Australia, of course. But that's going to be how it is. And of course, when the Q1 comes out and they're low, the stock price will accordingly drop, match people's expectation, because their expectation is car company. I love talking about Tesla. I love talking to my mates at work about Tesla, and we're always talking about it, where they're going, what they're doing, and what, because we're all tech. I work in the tech field, and so I can see what's going on here. They're building a platform for their tech, and mostly they're building the platform for their autonomy. Now, if they get autonomy working, well, that's game over. I mean, it's just such an amazing. I can see a future when the autonomy is so reliable and so safe that it won't be legal to drive on large motorways, for an example, yourself. You will have to have the car drive for you, because humans are notoriously bad at driving. About 100% of all accidents pretty much are caused by human error. And of course, once we get to autonomy and we've got autonomous vehicles going around, that will change. It'll change the landscape a lot. Also, things like ride sharing, Uber, Lyft, things like that, they are going to grow. And if they're smart, their whole business model will change. At the moment, that's about 20/80. So Uber and Lyft get about 20% of the ride sharing, and the drivers get about 80%. But that's going to turn itself on its head when Uber or Lyft can actually buy their own robo-taxi, call it, and if it's a Tesla or whatever it may be, and simply take 100% of the profit, other than the cost of the vehicle. You can see where these things are going. And so I think Tesla are at the forefront of that. And that doesn't even take into consideration whatsoever the battery technology. Doesn't take into consideration the solar roof side of their business. So it's going to be a huge bit. I've heard some people throwing around numbers, like $1 trillion company and all of this sort of stuff. You know what? They may be very well right. It may end up being $1 trillion company. In which case, we'll get there and we'll think to ourselves, gee, I wish I had bought more Tesla stock. Like I wish I had bought more Amazon stock. Wish I had bought some. That's the way it's going to go. So Tesla are just fantastic. I think that they're going to really go forward in the autonomy space, and they're certainly going to go forward in the electric car space. Now, if they can ramp up their factory building, now they're going to build a factory in Germany, and they may or may not, I don't know what's going to happen yet, but they may or may not build a factory in Texas. Now, if that will then give them 5 factories. That's pretty remarkable if they end up with 5 factories. And if they can continue to build factories, and say each factory can produce 1 million units, or maybe just under. I believe the Fremont factory can produce about 780 units. So if they got 5 factories doing that, that's a lot of cars. And then you hear people say things like, well, where's the demand? It's a crazy statement, because we're going green. The planet's going to go green because you've got 1 billion cars on the road that all have to be converted to electric. Now, either we're going to see conversion companies drop popping up here, left, right, and center. You know, the old style mechanic's going to turn into a electric conversion place, or people will buy them new. And if a new thing pops up, that's say around the $20,000 to $30,000 mark. Wow, you know, and if you can get say 200 to 300 kilometers or 200 and 300 miles on a charge, then it's game over for petrol. I heard somebody say the other day, and I think I said it before, but you know, petrol is the new tobacco. People are pulling out of petroleum. They're pulling their investments out because they want to go for something that's green. And at the moment, Tesla's the only stock on the NASDAQ that I can see that's really for that purpose. So time will tell, of course. Time will tell. But I think that Tesla is fantastic. I think it's a great car. And as my tagline says, I want one. So, you know, if you have been, thank you for watching, and I'll keep you up to date with what's happening with the ticker. I'll keep you up to date with what I think is going to happen here. I would suspect over the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to see some amazing events take place in the automotive industry as a whole. We're going to see some big changes. And if many of these companies don't get their act together, there's going to be a lot more closures. I believe Ford closed another 6 factories over the last month. You've only got to look at that really and say who's closing factories and who's opening factories. Leave you with that thought. You know, who's closing factories and who's opening factories. If they can ramp up that factory creation and create more gigafactories across the globe. I don't mean just in the States, and I don't mean just in China. Shanghai one went up in 10 months. That's remarkable. So if you can do that, wow. It could be huge industry to be in. And at the moment, we're not even seeing the truck. The truck hasn't even really been talked about, mainly because battery production is such that they don't have enough batteries to really push the truck. It requires too many batteries. But it'll be interesting to see what they say in April on Battery Day. So yeah, who's building factories and who's closing them? Leave you with that. If you've enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe and comment down below what you think. I'd love to know what you think the Tesla share price is likely to go to, say, in 2025. What do you think? I reckon it could be as high as $4,000 in 2025. I know there are other people out there saying a lot more, but I think maybe $4,000 seems a reasonable amount for the exponential growth that we're seeing in their market. Until next time, see you later. Stay electrified. Bye.